There is a specific feeling that is hard to explain to someone who has never felt it. It is not loneliness exactly. You can feel it in a room full of people. It is not sadness exactly. You can feel it on a perfectly fine day. It is the feeling of being in the wrong place. Not just physically, existentially. Like everyone around you received instructions for how to exist in the world and somehow yours never arrived. If you have spent your whole life feeling slightly out of place everywhere you go, this video is about you. Here is what most people get wrong about this feeling. They assume it means something is broken in you, that you are too difficult, too sensitive, too much, or not enough of something. But the research tells a completely different story. Psychologists who study belonging describe it not as a personality flaw, but as a fundamental human need that has gone unmet. Belonging is not about being liked, it is about being known. And a lot of people spend their entire lives being liked by many people and known by nobody. That gap between being liked and being known is where the not belonging lives. So, how does this start? For most people, it starts early, long before they have words for it. Maybe you grew up in a home where the real version of you was too loud or too quiet or too different from what was expected. Maybe you learned early that certain parts of you made people uncomfortable, so you tucked them away. Maybe you moved schools or cities and never quite rebuilt the sense of fitting in that you lost. Maybe you were always just slightly different from everyone around you in a way you could not name, and neither could they. Each of these experiences sends the same message to your developing brain. You are not quite right for this place, and your brain, being the pattern recognition machine that it is, files that message away and starts applying it everywhere. New school, same feeling. New friend group, same feeling. New city, same feeling. Not because every place is wrong for you, but because your brain learned to expect not belonging before it ever gave a new place a chance. Psychologists call this a belonging uncertainty schema, a deep-seated belief formed early that gets activated automatically in new social environments. You walk into a room, and before a single person has spoken to you, your nervous system has already decided you do not fit here. That is not a character flaw. That is a learned pattern, and learned patterns can be unlearned. But here is where it gets more complicated. Some people who feel like they do not belong anywhere are not experiencing a distorted perception. They are experiencing an accurate one, because they have genuinely outgrown the environments they are in. They have developed in ways that the people around them have not yet caught up to. They think differently. They feel things more deeply. They ask questions that make other people uncomfortable, and the people around them sense it, even if they cannot articulate it, which creates a subtle but persistent distance. You are not rejected. You are not disliked. You are just not quite met. And not being met is its own kind of lonely. The hardest part about this particular feeling is that it resists easy solutions. You cannot just find a new friend group and have it disappear. You cannot just move to a new city and suddenly feel at home, because the feeling is not really about the place or the people. It is about whether the deepest version of you has ever been allowed to exist somewhere without apology. For a lot of people, the answer is no. Not because the world is cruel, but because most social environments reward conformity. They reward being easy to understand, predictable, low maintenance. And if you are the kind of person who feels things deeply, thinks in ways that are hard to explain, and carries an inner world that most people never get to see, you will always feel slightly alien in spaces designed for people who fit more neatly. That is not your flaw. That is your nature. Research from the University of Michigan on social belonging found that people with high emotional complexity report significantly lower feelings of belonging in conventional social settings, regardless of how many social connections they have. More friends does not fix it. More socializing does not fix it. What fixes it is depth. One real connection where you are fully known is worth more to your nervous system than 100 connections where you are only partially seen. So, what do you actually do with this feeling? The first thing is to stop treating it as evidence that something is wrong with you. The feeling is not a verdict. It is information. It is telling you that the environments you are in are not calibrated for who you actually are. That is useful to know. The second thing is to stop trying to belong everywhere. You are not supposed to belong everywhere. Nobody does. The goal is not universal belonging. The goal is finding the specific people and places where the real version of you is not just tolerated, but genuinely recognized. Those people exist. That place exists. but you will not find them by continuing to make yourself smaller to fit into spaces that were not built for you. The third thing is the hardest. You have to let yourself be fully seen by someone before you can feel like you belong with them. Not the performed version. Not the version that has learned to be acceptable. The actual version that requires vulnerability that feels almost impossible when your whole history has taught you that being fully yourself leads to not fitting in. But the belonging you are looking for cannot be built on a performance. It can only be built on being known. You have spent a long time feeling like you landed in the wrong place. Maybe the problem was never that you do not belong anywhere. Maybe the problem is that you have never stayed long enough in your own skin to find out where you actually fit. If this resonated, the next video goes even deeper into why the people who feel like they do not belong are often the ones who eventually build something entirely their own.